Good morning. This is my player. This is the player reflections and recap of our second session, Symbaroum, last night. So first of all, I want to say thanks, David, for a brilliant session, and Dell for joining me in that. Unfortunately, we did not have Justin. I'm hoping at some point Justin will have the time to maybe join us in a couple more sessions. We could have used Vikramer last night, Justin. So Dell and I had to run for our lives. Now, I'm not saying we wouldn't have run for our lives anyway. I don't know if we wanted to tangle with this mother of all creatures because David definitely foreshadowed that this was going to get very dangerous. And so we got the heck out of there. It was very fun. Okay, so what can I say? I had run 5 sessions of Symbaroum for my local group over 2 years ago, 18, whatever, 20 something months ago. And then, of course, I ran the guys in an icebreaker session here a couple of weeks ago. We agreed that we would rotate GMs. So I ran the first session. David has run the second session last night. Dell has agreed that he'll run a session, which is fantastic. I love the idea of all of us getting a chance to play together, but all of us getting a chance to GM. And then hopefully at some point we will have time or find a time that works for Justin and he can get in and GM us. Would be so cool to continue to get Justin at the table when he can. I mean, I understand not only is he's a couple hours ahead of us, but it's also difficult for him time wise. But you are always welcome, Justin. I want to make it very clear, man. Always welcome. And we missed you last night. We might have held our ground, right? Tara wants to become immortalized, man, in song by doing amazing things. So you can imagine how hard it was for Taro to run for his life last night. But you can't be immortalized in song if you die on your very first adventure. So Taro's not stupid. He knows he's got to survive to become a legend, right? Okay, so I got to say this. I love Symbaroum. I've said this before. I also love this kind of gaming. I like us all choosing something we want to play, we all want to learn, and we all want to share. So we all get to be players. We get to share characters. I mean, we all have our own characters, but we get to share at the table as characters, and then we get to GM and share the learning process from that side. Uh, I did a little, as Dale pointed out at one point, I did a little backseat GMing last night. I didn't mean to. I just want to make sure to help David because I didn't know how much David, was aware with the rules, and I also felt like part of the reason we're doing this is to learn Symbaroum. So if people want to watch, they can kind of get how to do this. So I made a faux pas. I misread. I misremembered that Dell's character. So Dell at one point got to half of his actual corruption threshold, and I had confused that half of that threshold meant Dell had a stigma. And so he had 5 points of corruption out of 8 for his threshold, and I was thinking that he only needed to be half of that 8, and then he would have a stigma. So he defined that he had pus running from his nose, his mouth, his eyes, his ears as a stigma that everybody could see that he was corrupt. So I made a mistake there. It's supposed to be the actual threshold is when that stigma happens. I was thinking half of the threshold. It's actually half of their resolute rating rounded up, which would have been 8 for Dell. It didn't affect play, thank God, but I did make a faux pas. I did have a snafu there as the backseat GM, and I am sorry, David and Dell, for that mistake. It didn't affect play, but either way, it gave us a chance to talk about how that works. So that was cool, right? Okay. And we could have used Justin there because Justin might have caught that and said, no, he's not corrupt. That again, it's nice to have everybody who's familiar with the rules. Okay, what do I say? So I have basically a human ranger, but I didn't build a traditional ranger. I built more of a warrior who has a background as a hunter and a ranger as a young man, and then he heads north, young man, to make his legend in the Davokar. David sets us up really, really sweet. He puts us already en route in the Davokar. We are escorting a group of, for the lack of a better term, herbologists or gatherers of herbs related to our boss, Rigel, who basically said these 2 guys would be great to escort this group to go get those herbs. So Rigel puts us in this path, kind of as my first test as a Rigel employee, so to speak. And Shigs had nothing better to do, and so he joined us. That's kind of how we set it up, or how David set it up. And the background a little bit here was there's a Baron Theodore who lost their daughter, and the wife, the Baron's wife, is distraught, and that's kind of how we ended up escorting this group of hunter gatherers into the Davokar to find a particular herb. So very much. I'm leading the way. We're setting camp. I'm kind of giving orders. She's clearly in control of her minions, and Shig is doing what Shig does. He kind of follows behind, keeps a close eye, and it's a good thing because as we got to the end of our second day and the rain started, we were building lean-tos, etc. Shig had noticed something was following us. Some predator. He believed the predator was following us, and sure enough, at some point, Shig spots it and tries to follow it. He spooks it. It turns on him. That gets me on my feet as I was eating at the campfire, and a fight ensues with this kind of wolf, kind of a natural wolf type creature, and we ultimately run it off. Unfortunately, Shig ended up suffering his pain threshold and being knocked prone. He had to scramble to his feet and up a tree to get away from it while I got its attention, and I fought with it. It tried to turn on our wards, the woman Magda and her four attendees. It tried to turn on them, and unfortunately, I was able to gouge it pretty good, and it ran off into the woods, and we survived it. But Shig took a couple of big bites. He was beat up a little bit, so we requested Magda take a look at him. Magda did give him some healing, got him kind of patched up with bandages and a poultice. Dave described how she got out her pestle and made a poultice and then bandaged him. And Shig was a little nervous as this stuff he's used to rubbing mud in the wound or, that kind of thing. We get through the night unscathed. And the next day, about halfway through the next day, as we arrive at these ruins, which we find a overgrown cobblestone, like old ancient road, and we work our way through, and that starts to progress a little bit as we come into old walls and old ruins, but not quite buildings. And she orders her attendees to start grabbing up the herbs in this area, and she orders Shig to start removing overgrowth of a dais, basically I would say a ground-based dais. And my character, of course, worried because I'm supposed to be protecting all of these people. I jump up on the wall where I can get an advantage to see everybody out doing their gathering. Meanwhile, I'm not really paying attention as she starts to suck in the corruption of the area. My character begins to get a little intoxicated and a little dizzy with the corruption. Shig is actually already suffering some extra corruption. She tries to convince Shig to lay down. As they portal away, Dell's character actually realizes this is a body-shaped dais kind of contraption in which you bleed somebody out into these channels of blood. And so she orders Shig to lay there. Shig fortunately shakes it off and kind of backs away. Meanwhile, my character drops down to go over there and say, what's going on? You guys have your herbs. Let's get out of here. This place doesn't feel right, kind of thing. She actually casts something over me and orders me to lay in the thing. So I hand over my pike as I'm willing. I'm a willing participant at this point. So I lay down in this thing, and Shig fortunately is able to bump her off the dais. They roll around in the undergrowth while I shake out of it and sit up. Her attendees who were chanting at this point stopped their chanting as it broke kind of the ritual. And her attendees, she then orders them while Shig and her are wrestling. She throws Shig off. She gets up and she orders her attendees to basically sacrifice themselves to get blood into this stone altar. And so they start, literally killing themselves. And my character's up grabbing the pike and screaming as she's basically sucking in corruption. She's basically transforming before our very eyes. And I run. I basically yelled to Shig, run, man, run. And so I take off running. Shig actually tries with his flail in the heat of the combat as he's been thrown away. And he's kind of irritated by that. He actually tries to hit her a few times with his flail on his way out. And then as she begins to grow larger and tear loose from her, she begins to really transform into something. Shig realizes this isn't good, and he takes off. And that's the session. It was fantastic. Dave really got us into a couple of great places here. Love Symbaroum's dark, gritty. He put us in the Davokar, which was awesome. He really introduced the idea of this oppressive, corrupt, overgrown forest, the powers of this forest. And then we got a taste of corruption and of magic through this cultist. It was perfect. I had a great time, and I think we did it in like an hour and 50 minutes. We talked for a little while afterward, but I think the session, I think it was like an hour and 45, hour 50 minutes. Was perfect. We could have stayed and fight, and I think that would have probably pushed the thing on a little longer, maybe another 15 or 20 minutes had we tried to fight her. But at that point, I thought, you know what? We were supposed to escort her out here and make sure she safely got the herbs and safely gets home to the Baron and to Rigel, and the fact that she ordered her people to kill herself, and the fact that she was transforming into something. Taro, at one point, when I sat up, I told she, "Don't kill her, man. We're supposed to get her here and back with the herbs." I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if the forest was possessing her. I didn't know if this had something to do with the area we were in. So my initial reaction to Shig was, "Don't kill her. We got if we have to knock her unconscious, we'll take her back because that was our job." But when she really started to transform, I said, "That's it, dude. Run. We don't die for this mission, right?" And it was great. I really like Symbaroum, and I know it's a little counterintuitive at first. The idea of rolling under, again, also getting down all 8 attributes. When do we use cunning? When do we use vigilance? That's going to come. That's easy. There is 8. The adjustments are super easy. David can just give it a difficulty of from +5 to -5, or it's a direct opposed check against the creature's attribute modifier. So it's really a super simple, in my opinion, it's a super simple mechanical system. It just takes a minute to get your head around the fact that we're rolling under everything. And then, of course, what attribute best suits the challenge. If Shig says, "I'm climbing a tree and I want to get up there as fast as possible," David could say, "Okay, that's a quickness check with a -2 because you're trying to go fast." David could say, "Hey, man, that's you're going to do that easy. Don't worry about it. Don't even make a roll." I mean, and then of course, opposed checks, there's rules for opposed checks like the curse, resolve versus resolve, attack versus defense. So those rules actually have, the things you're supposed to roll, right? It was great. I loved it. My character, with his long pike, so what I love about the game is there are these, again, it doesn't require maps, it doesn't require minis, but there are tactical advantages. I purposely chose a long weapon. I'm already very quick. I would probably go first and all, but I wanted a long weapon. I love the idea of a pike, a spear, long spear warrior. I love that. So I took a pike. I like to have the reach, and it's a precision weapon, which gives me a bonus to my attacks. And I like that. I like when I create a character that a weapon isn't just a D6 or whatever. And I'm okay with that for old school. But I mean, if we're going to play something different, I want to see different effects. I want to see different stuff. And I think Symbaroum gives us enough of these variables that keeps the game unique. My character was truly different than Dell's character, right? My character has his strengths and his weaknesses, like persuasion. I tried at one point to give him orders, and I felt miserably with a persuasion check. No, actually, I'm sorry. I made the roll. I made a 1 roll. So the irony is my persuasion's a 5. I have a 25% chance. It was no modifier. I made a 1 roll. And fortunately, I barked orders to build lean-tos and get us some protection when the rain started to come. And I made that roll, and so they did. David described how, yes, they're trying the best they can to do it. I had to join in and kind of help them get the lean-to technology, right, in case they didn't know how to build lean-tos. But the point is, I succeeded at that. Uh, I love it. I absolutely love it. But part of this is who you play with. It's not always what you play; it's who you play with. I've been blessed in 12 years on YouTube to play with a lot of brilliant people and brilliant gamers, and I've had the opportunity to play lots of great games because of my relationships online. I haven't had a chance to GM as much in those relationships as I wanted to. However, uh, you know, I'm okay with that as long as it's something I want to GM. I mean, if I want to GM something, I certainly want an opportunity. There are some games I was okay to be a player. I had no intention of GMing. For instance, 2D20 is a good example of a game I don't think I would want to GM. I definitely enjoyed Star Trek 2D20, and I enjoyed the heck out of 2D20 Conan, but I'm not certain I'd want to GM those. Right? Those start to get into a process in which I'm way outside my comfort zone, and who knows what those hold. But Symbaroum has been fantastic. I cannot wait for Dell to GM this for us, and I cannot wait to be beside David at the table as our warriors. Basically, I'm a ranger, but I'm weighted toward a warrior. I have no special abilities, so there was no special rules that pertain to my character in both scenes or in combat. As I get enough experience and can grab a special power or a special, again, they're called abilities, then I might grab one that gives me some tweaks to the game combat. So my character played like a my character really played like a Dragon Warriors barbarian or Dragon Warriors knight. If any of you are familiar with the old 1985 Dragon Warriors game, my character played more like an old school warrior because I didn't have any special feats. Dell's character, of course, has a ritual. Dell's character can curse. Dell's character has witch sight. So Dell's character clearly has these mystical powers, and he knows a witchcraft ritual of fortune telling, right? So great game. So again, I want to thank you, David, for not only that. David was gung ho to get into the second session pretty quick, and that was cool because hey, man, I'm free on Saturdays, so I'm good to go. And Dell, fortunately, was home from his trip. Unfortunately, he was a little under the weather, but it didn't affect Dell's play. You know, Dell's a pro. You can't tell that Dell's sick. You can't tell that he's been fighting with his girlfriend. You can't tell that the lawn needs to be mowed. You can't tell that Dell hadn't slept 3 days. I mean, Dell's a pro, man. You can't pick up any of those things, right? Unlike some of us, you can tell if I'm in a bad mood. You can tell. No, no. I try not to. I try not to project my life onto the sessions. I am really looking forward to more Symbaroum as a player and a GM. I'd like to continue to GM online. If for some reason we do this and round robin these GMs and we decide we've had enough online, fine, we'll go to something else. I will be GMing it locally, so that's okay, right? I'm getting that. I'm going to get my GMing of Symbaroum locally, so no sweat. So if the guys, after we rotate, we've had our fill, maybe we'll move to another game or something. But I'm digging it. Um, I do want to play more, so it's one of my goals at 52. For a guy who GM'd 90% of his 28 years of gaming or whatever I'm at now. I missed 18 years. I started at 8. And then missed 18. So for 26 of my 52 years, so I guess for 26 years, I've been gaming. I've only been playing sporadically over the last 10. I would say the last 5 in particular. So I definitely want to play more and enjoy being a player and a character with other human beings, of course. So it's great fun. So recap: David puts us in. We're on our second day in. He gives us our setup as to how as we're traversing, he kind of fills in that the Baron asked Rigel to get a couple of escorts to get this group out to get these herbs. We don't know why. We don't know what the herbs are for. We don't know anything else. Meanwhile, we are ultimately sabotaged by this cultist witch and her minions. And now I have a bone to pick with Rigel because did Rigel know? And why would the Baron send us out with a cultist witch to perform this? So my character's on his way back to Blackmore, and he wants some answers, right? And I love this. If we play another session, I'm hoping we're going to have the opportunity to, approach Rigel and say, "What the hell, man? I mean, you sent us on a suicide mission. You sent us to be victims of this witch. What's up?" And of course, that may lead to him questioning the Baron. I don't know. Rigel may be aware that he sent us as victims. Rigel may be completely unaware that the Baron and this witch. Hell, the Baron may not know about the witch. But dude, my mind, as I was walking, as I imagine myself running away, fuming. We were set up. We were set up is how I feel, right? And so it was a great session. So anyway, we missed you, Justin. If you have time in future, man, I understand. Let us know if there's a weeknight that you could do, or if you could meet us on a Saturday. So I want you to know, man, you're always welcome to play with us, and we'll work out times. And we did miss you because it would have been great to have Vicamir with Midnight in that situation. Would have been so cool. So, and then I'm really want to see Justin run this, right? So I'm hoping at some point, if anything, Justin will find a day he could squeak in and GM me, David, and Dell. I mean, again, we're making some huge assumptions that we'll survive Dell's game. Right. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I've rambled on here, but I got to tell you, my reflections. I love the game as a GM. I love the game as a player. I am completely, and I'm very, very satisfied with Symbaroum's dark, narrow focus. I'm very satisfied with Davokar being that place of haunted danger and mystery. We don't have to always go to the Davokar, right? We can go to other towns. We can do other things. We can actually go outside the framework and actually into regions that aren't yet defined in the core book. So you can go anywhere you want with this core book as far as options. So it isn't going to be just hex crawls. It's not going to be just the Davakar every time. I mean, I'm okay if it is, but I'm okay with that. And the Dark Gritty, I just introduced him to the Davakar. Didn't really get into corruption much. Didn't really introduce creatures that were corrupt and had that could afflict us with corruption. David took it to that level, which was sweet. I don't know where Dale's going to take it. And anyway, so I look forward to it. XP, I don't know what we got in XP. I know Dell technically got enough XP in our session. He should have been able to spend some of that XP to level up. We didn't talk about it. I totally forgot. I think Dell was on vacation and none of us were thinking that way. But I don't know how much XP David gave us for that. But Dell certainly got enough that he could actually purchase or upgrade the abilities he has. Like he could go to Master and Curse probably. He could add another ritual. He would have to narrate in an interlude how he learned that ritual, right? So one of the things I want to see as a GM when I'm in a group of people who are committed to this stuff, I don't want them to just grab another ritual from the book and we don't talk about it. I want to hear how Dell in his interlude tells us how his character learned another ritual, right? My character, if I end up getting twin attacks or I end up getting a shield ability, I will be in our interlude in a session where I have the opportunity in an interlude to tell a tale. I'm going to tell how my character learned the shield ability or how my character advanced his vitality or whatever, right? Because I can just upgrade an attribute. I want to see that in Symbaroum. Symbaroum implies that we're going to have interludes in which we describe how we learned these things. And I'm invested in that as not only a player and a GM, but as a character, somebody who wants to see his character exist outside of the session. So I come to the next session and I explain how I somehow learned shield fighting, right? What did I, and then we talk about maybe they interlude how I approached Rigel and said, "How dare you send me, dude? I want you to pay for my shield training and buy me a damn shield." So Rigel, we could interlude, and Dell would of course decide with David whether that was the situation, right? Did Rigel feel responsible for endangering our lives? Who knows, right? And that's the fun of us all being involved as a GM with this, right? So we're all in Blackmore. We all are working for Rigel, Cragback, the Goblin, sponsor. And so now Dell will know those things, and Dell knows our characters, and Dell will set up our adventure. And it's truly fun. It's great to play with veterans. It's incredibly great. It's really special to play with veterans. It's special to play with mature people, intelligent people. And it's so laid back. I mean, there is no competition. There is no dueling bullshit, man. We're just all peers and colleagues enjoying our favorite hobby, and it's fantastic. I mean, and I'm assuming everybody out there, their subscribers, have the same thing. You're achieving the same thing, or you wouldn't be in the hobby, right? You wouldn't have YouTube channels, and you wouldn't be interested in watching these videos that we put out, etc., or playing our games, or asking us questions or whatever. So I assume everybody in the hobby has that. So you should know, but it's great. It's really great. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful remainder of your weekend. It is Sunday, September 11th, and enjoy. We'll be back when we have something else to say. Good day.